the Exit Ready on-demand training, we're going to cover the 4 stages of exit readiness. Ultimately, our goal is clarity, focus, and alignment around your exit goals so you can exit on your terms. My name is Tim Martinez, and I help business owners maximize value, plan for their exit, and successfully make the transition into their next phase. I myself have sold a few of my own small businesses, so I know it's possible for you. Today, we're going to discuss the 4 stages, so grab a pen, take notes, and you're definitely going to want to bookmark this. So this webinar isn't about selling your business. It's about exiting on your terms. The number one concern we hear when speaking with business owners when it comes to their exit planning is, I'm not ready. And while it's good to be honest, it's not good to be unprepared. So you don't have to sell now to start getting exit ready. The ultimate goal for many owners is to have a fulfilling life after their business. And that's great. That is the objective. To get there, you want to ensure your final paycheck is as big as humanly possible. But again, you don't have to sell today, but you do have to get ready today. So an exit isn't the end. It's simply the big payday for everything that you've built. And exits reward the prepared, not the perfect, because there really is no such thing as perfect, but you can be far on the spectrum of prepared. And that's where we want to get you from where you're at today to feeling fully in the control seat, ultimately very well prepared to go into the market whenever the time comes for you to sell your business. So did you know that 50% of exits are forced? So what does that mean? It means that there's some external pressure or unknown circumstance that forces business owners to exit, often on less than satisfactory terms. And let's not forget good old-fashioned burnout here as well. Exits are often caused by what we call the 5 Ds: death, divorce, disease, dysfunction, or distance. For example, your business is in California, but you want to retire and move to Florida. So one of these 5 Ds is usually the culprit, forcing business owners out the door, not on their terms. This is when business owners get reactive and they have to move, and they have to move quickly, and they end up taking a discount. You know you can't run your business for the rest of your life. At some point, you will have to get out. Statistically, 100% of business owners will exit their business. It's just the nature of life. Now, you get to determine if you're exiting on your terms or not. So in many cases, your business is your biggest asset. And it's estimated that 80% of an owner's net worth is tied to their business. And the only way to unlock this value is when you sell your business. Otherwise, the value is locked up inside. So I've met a lot of business owners that say, well, one day I'll sell my business and then I'll be able to retire. But if they never sell their business, they can never retire, and therefore they're forever anchored. And if one of the 5 Ds comes for them or some other external force, they're forced to just shut the business down. And again, it's less than satisfactory terms. So this is why it's so important to exit plan. True or false? Most business owners know what their business is worth. It's false. It's estimated that 2% of business owners actually know the value of their business. That means 98% of business owners don't know what their business is worth. Again, if your business is your number one asset, it's very important for you to know what that asset is worth. Now, you can grow a great business. And if you're here, my assumption is that you've built your business to some point, but you can fail the exit. Maybe you have succeeded in getting your business to a certain level, many years, certain amount of profitability. Want to make sure that as successful as you've been in business, you also want to be successful in the exit. Statistically, exits are not guaranteed. 70 to 80% of businesses put on the market don't sell. That means only 20 to 30% of businesses do sell. So just because you have the desire to sell doesn't necessarily mean you can. And this, again, is why it's so important to be fully prepared. Now, succession is not guaranteed. So maybe you're thinking, yeah, my kids might work in the business, or I'm going to hand it down through the generations. 30% of family-owned businesses survive into the second generation. 12% succeed into the third generation, and 3% into the fourth. So succession is not guaranteed. And it's estimated that only 20% of adult children actually want to take over the business. So what does it take to exit on your terms? What do those that successfully exit do differently than those that don't? And is it possible for you? Well, I know it's possible for you because we've helped many of our clients increase their value and sell their businesses. I have also exited a few of my own small businesses. So again, I know it's possible for you, but it doesn't happen haphazardly. So yes, it's possible for you. In a moment, we'll be discussing the 4 stages of exit readiness. that will serve as your framework to beat the odds. But ultimately, you're going to need a playbook. So true or false? The biggest thing holding most business owners back from a successful exit is the market. Well, it's false. It's ultimately a limiting belief about what's possible, what buyers want, and your ability to quote unquote get ready. So before we discuss the 4 stages of exit readiness, we need to briefly deal with some limiting beliefs. Common limiting beliefs silently kill progress. The first one to start with is I don't have the time right now because I'm too busy running the business. The blind spot here is simply owner dependency. If you're too busy to plan for the exit for your biggest asset, it means that the business is probably too reliant upon you and you just can't find the time because the business is pulling everything from you. Now, we'll talk about owner dependency in a minute, but it's typically a liability when it comes to selling your business. The next limiting belief is I'll focus on this when I'm closer to selling. And great, but if there's no clear timeline as to what that looks like or any clear vision of closer to selling looks like, you're just going to be spinning your wheels and you're going to have no defined timeline. So you can define it as in 4 years when our revenue is at 20 million and our profit is here. Now we're getting a little closer to what closer to selling means, but we can't just have blanket statements. The third limiting belief here is I need to see revenue increase before I spend on this. The blind spot is ultimately understanding the real cost of inaction. Yes, there's a cost to doing anything, and there's also a cost to doing nothing. You need to be committed to the process. Another limiting belief is I've tried stuff like this before and nothing changed. Typically, this is because there was a low commitment on the front end. Maybe you weren't fully committed to the process, didn't see it all the way through, but just because something didn't work once doesn't mean it can't work again. You just got to keep trying until you get into a rhythm. Another limiting belief is I'm afraid this will just add more to my plate. And maybe so. Maybe it does add some things to your plate, but you may also be spending time on the wrong things. And again, going back to the owner dependency, if there is high value activity and low value activity, you want to make sure that you're spending most of your time in the high value activity, and exit planning and getting prepared is the highest level of activity that you can do. So you want to adjust your calendar to make sure you're spending the time on the right things. I'm scared of what I'll have to face, fix, or let go of. So this limiting belief is typically you're just being held captive by fear. You might have to face some things and let go of a few things, but you can, and it's possible. And it'll actually make your life a lot easier once you start facing those things. So action and inaction both have a real cost. And the real reason to plan for the exit is because it puts you in a perpetual state of working on the business to increase the enterprise value. Business owners never regret increasing the value of the business, but they do regret not doing so. You'll never meet a business owner that regretted exit planning, but plenty of times you'll meet an owner that regrets having no plan at all. So when you build for a great exit, you end up with a great business. It's a byproduct. We can all agree an exit strategy is important. Again, no one really debates whether or not having an exit plan is smart. This is the key right here. In your business, you have to know what's ultimately important. And having plans, sticking to those plans is sitting at the top of those priorities. And exiting won't happen until you see it as a non-negotiable, until you truly make it a priority. And this is the crux. This is where everything starts to change. And nothing's going to change until you make it non-negotiable. So right now, at this moment, if you want to get exit ready, you have to make it non-negotiable. And timing is important. Timing is everything. But one of the things we say, and I hear it from business owners, they say, well, the timing's not right. And maybe so, but you can't have that be an excuse. So one of the things you can do is always be ready. If you always are ready, you never have to get ready. So make timing irrelevant by always being ready. Exit planning is a process, not an event. It takes time to build up to it. I've met plenty of business owners that say, yeah, when I'm ready, I'm just, going to list it and I'll sell. Again, maybe. I've never seen it. It takes time. It takes months at times, but it is possible. And you can expedite that process by being fully prepared. Just like no one runs a marathon without preparation. You don't just hit the track and go put out 26, 27 miles. Overnight, you build up. There's little mini steps and you increase your stamina. Same deal with exit planning. You want to build up towards it. So true or false? There's only one buyer who would be interested in your business. This is false. There's plenty of buyers out there. There's a wide range of active buyers seeking businesses just like yours every single day. strategic buyers, private equity buyers. It could be competitors, managers, employees, family members. There's plenty of people out there. If you have something of true value, they're going to want it. So the question is, will you be ready when the time comes? So this is where you're going to want to sharpen your pencil. We're going to run through the 4 stages of exit readiness. Remember, exit conversations often start at the financial level. So the first thing we're going to cover here in our 4 stages is cleaning up your financials. Sloppy financials kill deals instantly. If your numbers are all over the place, you have unprepared tax returns, you don't know where to find your P&Ls and your cash flow, you don't have a QuickBooks set up, you're using manual processes, that's going to kill a deal. So the first and foremost thing you can do is just get clean on your financials. Set up a folder, put your 3-year historical P&Ls, cash flow, balance sheet, tax returns, just put it in a centralized, safe place. The easy part is working with your CPA or accountant and just getting your financial documents all nice and tight in one place. The second piece is team independence. So this is the second stage. If you're essential to the business, I touched upon this earlier, it may not sell. And this is mainly because buyers are looking to buy a business. They're not looking to buy your job, if that makes sense. They want to know that the business can operate and thrive independently of you. If the business requires you, it's a bit of a liability, less of an asset. Now, there's different types of buyers. Some private equity buyers may require you to stay in the business for a period of time. Some strategic buyers may as well. But no one's going to expect you to stay in the business indefinitely. So you want to start working now to create independence from yourself in the business. And this is where you start working with your managers, ascending people, having some kind of succession plan internally mapped out so you know who's the logical person to ascend, how to train them, and you really have a reason for doing so because you know it's only going to increase your value when the time comes for you to sell the business. Scalable growth is the third stage. So it's always best to sell your business on an upswing. Buyers want to buy the upside. That's essentially what they're buying. They're investing in the upside. So if you can show a projection that says over the next 3-4 years, we're going to grow by so much, that's what buyers want. They want to hear that kind of financial story that their investment is just going to scale. You always have to ask the question, if as a buyer, if I was to start your business today, would it take me 5 years, 10 years to get to where you're at? Or can I just buy you and then expedite the whole process and save myself the 10 years? So ultimately, that's the type of value that they're buying. But you want to put your business in a position to where you have a growth engine and it's just working for you every single day. It's, reaching out to new customers, customer acquisition, which we'll touch upon in a moment. It's very important to know that you have some kind of program that can consistently build and scale your business versus having such wild ups and downs and fluctuations in your revenue year over year. So the 4th stage here is deal preparation. Now, every delay increases the chance that your deal dies. And this is real. We say time kills all deals. So if you have your folder nice and tight and you have your clean financials inside of it, you have true team independence, you've built out SOPs, you've replicated yourself, you have a good succession plan, you know who's going to run the show with your limited involvement. You have a growth engine, you have good sales and marketing program to generate revenue, and you can show that projections. And then you have just everything dialed and tight in one central place. It's going to help the whole process move faster. Versus a buyer comes in and they say, hey, we're interested in buying your business. And then you have none of this put together. You might have to add 3 to 6 months just to get it all together. And the deal might go cold and then eventually die. So you want to get in the control seat by having everything nice and tight. So here's hidden levers that increase value. Think of it like this. The more certainty inside of your business, the more value there is. So one of the ways you can get more certainty in your business is ultimately through recurring revenue. It's kind of the holy grail in some regards, knowing that there's predictability to your revenue. So if you don't have this, you might want to consider subscriptions, recurring revenue, looking at some kind of retainer models or something that just keeps the money coming in a very consistent fashion versus having these big one-offs, these big pops. So even though you might have good revenue, the quality of the revenue might be lower because it's not so consistent and reliable and predictable. The next bit, and this is a big one, is one customer making up 30% plus of revenue. This is a major liability. Some buyers want to see it as low as 20%. So whatever you can do in the interim to diversify your customer base and get it down from any client having 30% simply because it's a liability. If that customer leaves, there goes the business. And this happens time and time again. We've seen a lot of businesses fail because they were overly reliant upon one client, maybe up to 50% of total revenue. In the exit planning process, as you're getting exit ready, consider customer diversification and ultimately how to diversify your customer base to maybe you don't ever have any customer worth more than 15% of the overall business. Now, predictable customer acquisition makes your business feel safe to buyers. As much as we talked about the recurring revenue makes it safe, having a good sales and marketing engine. So you know where to find the customers, how much it costs to acquire a customer, which marketing channels are working for you. This makes buyers feel really safe and secure. So if I bought your business today, I could just keep running the sales and marketing engine, and I'm going to continue to stamp new customers. It's predictable. So that will help you increase your revenue. Whatever your sales and marketing program is, just document it, make it tight, keep your data centralized, keep your customer database in a central place, because this is all going to play when the final time comes to sell your business. And this is what buyers are looking for. Proprietary intellectual property, IP, and data. This turns your business into a magnet. So if you have software, if you have patents, trade secrets, proprietary relationships, dashboards, data, anything, start looking at your business from an IP standpoint. Because again, if the new buyer doesn't have to build this on their own and they could just buy it, there's tremendous value in that. Again, even it could be as simple as having customer base. It could be new software that you've already created that they don't have to create on their own, and make those types of investments, especially if it's working and it's useful and you can prove that it's valuable. Be very mindful of your IP. And if you don't have any, that's okay. It's not a complete deal breaker. But if you do, it can actually be a game changer for you. Next, SOPs and systems aren't boring. They're $1 million documents and procedures. So I spent years building out SOPs and documenting companies and making sure that there was a good flow and a good rhythm to how processes are carried out every single day, and how you have a lot of consistency in delivering customer satisfaction, high quality on your products, things of that nature. You have to have it. It may be a little boring, but in a week, you could probably knock it out. So just be very mindful of your SOPs and your systems. Again, that could be your interlinking softwares. The new buyers are going to want to get under the hood and start looking at what makes this business tick, what makes it work, how does everything work in unison. And if you can't show them that, you're going to create tension, and that might slow the deal down. So just be mindful of your systems and your SOPs. Get everything nice and tight. True or false? Improving your EBITDA is the only way to increase your business valuation. Is this false? Now, although EBITDA is the most common method of valuing a business, typically you're putting a multiple on the EBITDA. So if your EBITDA is $1 million in your industry, you might get a 3 or 4x multiple. So your business could be worth 3 to 4 times. It's not the only way to increase value. There are other things you can do. Predictability, we talked about having good systems. Intellectual property goes a long way. Customer retention, if you have phenomenal customer retention, all of these things could impact your multiple. If you have a certain market position or foothold, if you have a strong brand, there's some qualitative and quantitative metrics. There's plenty of things that you can focus on in the business to increase the overall value. It's not always net profit, although net profit is very important, maybe the most, but I would also focus on, again, having tight systems, having a very strong business, having a good company culture, having good contracts, good customer relationships, supplier relationships, client relationships, vendor relationships, investor relationships. All these things make your business more valuable and more attractive to the buyer. So here's some killers to avoid, 5 exit killers. We'll start at 5 and work our way down to 1. Number 5, fake numbers and fantasy forecasting will destroy your credibility. There's really no reason to ever fudge the numbers, because at the end of the day, you're going to be found out. All we have to do is start looking at the P&L, ask a few smart questions, and we're going to get down to the bottom of what we're actually dealing with. So just be transparent. And if there's something that's less than satisfactory, you bring it up to the surface and say, we want to address this thing. Do that early. But while you're in the exit planning process, if you know you have items that are less than satisfactory, deal with them now. If you haven't, filed your tax returns, or if you have these debts, or deal with it, get on plans, get on programs, start putting yourself on the right path, because when the time comes to sell to buyers, they're going to want to see how many skeletons are in the closet. If you don't have many skeletons in the closet, it just helps the whole process move a lot faster. But somebody will find the skeletons. Number 4, selling from a place of burnout guarantees a discount. Now, it could be burnout. It could also be one of the 5 Ds: death, divorce, disease, dysfunction, or distance. Anything where you're reactive in the process, anytime where you have to get out or you're scrambling or it's a bit of a fire sale, you're always going to take a discount. So if your business was going to be worth $10 million, but it has to sell overnight, it might be worth 20% less, right? It just depends. But you're losing leverage if you're coming from a place of weakness. So you want to come from a place of strength, being buttoned up, knowing your true value. It'll give you more leverage in the marketplace. Number 3, talked about this, documentation. It's not sexy, but missing it is deadly. So if you don't have a due diligence document, if you don't have folders with all your materials, if you don't have your SOPs, if you don't know where your patents are, if you don't know where your corporate agreements are, your shareholder agreements, and you have to go, you're scrambling, that's bad luck. Get it all centralized. It shouldn't take very long to do this step. It's very critical. Number 2, over-reliance on the owner is a deal breaker for real buyers. I'm saying over-reliance. In some cases, reliance on the business owner is fine, especially if there's an earnout scenario where the owner is going to stay in it for 2 to 3 years. And that's okay that the business relies on the owner to some extent. But over-reliance, whereas the business is crippled if the owner is not there, that's bad. So one of the best ways to do this is to stress test the owner being away. Naturally, you train up your managers and people underneath them. Then you send the owner on a week-long vacation, then a 2-week, then a 3-week, and you stress test it and see what falls and what breaks when the owner's not around. Owner comes back, you fix those things, and then onward you go. And over time, it may take a year, but eventually you get to the point where the business is far less reliant upon you. And that is a good spot for new buyers. And number 1 is unrealistic expectations. This is the number 1 deal breaker, the number 1 deal killer. Now, there's different types of unrealistic expectations. There's unrealistic expectations around what the value of the business is, and that is probably at the top of the list. You think the business is worth 30 million, the buyer thinks it's worth 10, there's a massive spread, you're just not going to get together in the middle, and the deal will die. But there's other expectations, which is, how long should this take? You want the deal to happen in 3 months, the buyer wants it to happen in 9. Or the buyer wants you to stay in for a 5-year earnout, you don't want to stay in there longer than 1 year, right? There's all these different types of expectations. So you kind of have to know what your deal breakers are first. Then you go into the deal so you're not wasting any time. But ultimately, to get a deal done, to get a deal over the line, you need to be flexible. Inflexibility will kill pretty much any deal. So if you can be flexible and both sides can win and you have good, reasonable expectations, then you can be on the path towards having an actual profitable exit. In this stage, we would recommend that you just get knowledgeable. You research what types of deal scenarios are there, what types of buyouts are there and earnouts, what types of strategic buyers and private equity buyers and operating companies. Like, what are the different types of people that even buy companies like mine? What value are they placing on companies like mine? What kind of multiple on the EBITDA? What are they ultimately looking for? The more knowledgeable and educated you are in the whole process, it's just going to help you set better expectations so you can ultimately be more flexible and then get the deal over the line. So here's how you stack the deck in your favor. Now, great exits don't happen. They're engineered with intention. And great buyers don't just show up, you build to attract them. So keep it simple. What do buyers want? They want value. The more value and the less complicated, the better. So simplify it, dummy it down. Is your business high value? Is it overly complicated? You should know these things going into it. Relationships close deals faster than marketplaces ever will. What we mean by this is, when it's time for you to sell your business, if you're well networked, well liked in your industry, known in your space, it's going to help things move faster than if you're just starting from scratch and being completely cold. It doesn't mean you can't sell a business from that standpoint, but it might take longer to sell the business versus if you have a good brand, if you have a good rapport with other people in the industry. Maybe you know some competitors that may even want to buy you, or you know other brokers in the space or investment bankers or investors. If you know people and you're well networked, it's going to help the deal move faster when you start building up demand when it finally comes down to it. With that being said, you want to build an exit team. You really shouldn't go at this alone. You can. That's not to say you can't be successful, but the larger your business is, the more experienced team you're going to want. Now, who are some of these people on your team? Your CPA, your financial advisor, your attorney, maybe your business consultant, business coach, your partners, your spouse, an investment banker, a business broker, you pick. But you're going to need some combination of these people to give you good sound advice to make sure that you're making smart financial decisions and you're not doing anything dumb that's going to affect the ultimate sales price or the timeline that you're looking for. So build a team. How much money do you need to exit comfortably? Work with your financial advisor. Do you have all of your documentation in place? Work with your CPA. When you're reviewing contracts, work with your attorney. Do you know how to create an auction environment? Work with an investment banker or business broker. So this is why you need an exit team, unless you have all those skills built inside, but most people don't. So again, it's not impossible to sell a business on your own, but you're just going to get that much further if you have a good team working with you. So multiple buyers means maximum value. You want to create the demand before you need it. So if you only have one person bidding on your business, it's a completely different scenario than if you have 5 people bidding on your business. And one of the fastest ways to increase value in your business is to get multiple people bidding on it. So if you take your business out to market and you're trying to sell it for $5 million, but you have 5 or 6 people bidding on it, it might end up at a $6 million purchase price. That's $1 million created just in an auction process for doing nothing more than just bringing a couple more buyers to the table. If you only have one buyer, they have a lot of leverage. So they might want to knock your $5 million deal down to 4.5. But again, if you have multiple people in there, you're levering each other against to raise the price up and up and up. It's very similar to selling a home. So true or false? If your business isn't ready to sell today, you've got plenty of time to fix it later. This is false. When the opportunity shows up or life forces your hand, you either cash in or regret not being prepared. So put yourself in the control seat at all times. Always be overly prepared and don't have this illusion that in 6 years down the road, you're going to start fixing the business and then get it ready to sell. Get it ready to sell today. You'll simply just build a better business. This is going to be your framework, your very simple framework to get exit ready, your playbook. This is the framework. Clean books, lean operations, and scalable growth. It's very simple. You don't want to have a mess. You don't want to have your documentation all different places. You don't want to run a bloated organization with expenses and all these unseen factors coming in your business in and out. You just want to keep it nice and tight, very profitable as humanly possible, and scalable. You want to know that you have levers to pull that are within your control to scale the business growth. So a new buyer coming in can say, okay, great. I have all my documentation. Everything's nice and clean. I don't have any bloated expenses. I don't have to let go of 5 or 6 employees that shouldn't have been here anyways. And I have a scalable model on how I can continue to run this thing. We have a lot of predictability built inside of the business. That makes you exit ready. It makes it very clean. So you have to know your number and then reverse engineer from it and every move from it. So what is your number? If I were to able to hand you a check today with your name on it to buy your business so you could walk away from this thing free and clear today, what is that number? 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 50 million? What's the number? What do you need? Then we say, how far are you from that number? So if you need a check with $5 million, but you think your business is worth 3, well, now we know the delta. We know the spread. We know what we have to do and how much more revenue we have to get in order for you to get to that point. Or maybe we can create an auction environment, or maybe we can build some software and some IP to increase the value of your business. But if we don't know your number, we're flying blind. And we're just hoping that eventually at some point in the future, somebody's going to cut you some magical number and that's going to be just okay. It's going to be good enough. It never works that way. You also want to pick your freedom date. So we have a client that picked a freedom date. We worked with them to get it. It took him 5 years, ultimately, running a very large organization. But he got to the point where he was able to step out of the business. He picked his freedom date. So our challenge to you is for you to pick your freedom date as much as you need to pick your number. So if you want to check with $5 million on your name, great. When do you want that check? And then we can manage expectations. Then we can see how far or close we are to that. And maybe you're right there. Maybe you say, hey, I've run this business for 30 years. I'm happy to take a check for $5 million with my name on it, and I'd be willing to take it sometime this year in the next 6 months. Great. Very easy for us to work with that. But if you say I want to check for $50 million and we know your business is worth 2, well, we might have to realign some expectations. So you want to get clear on the understanding, get clear on the different types of buyers that are out there as well, and who values what businesses in which way. This way, you can reset your expectations So you understand what game you're actually playing and the language that people need to hear. There's many different types of buyers, and people value businesses in different ways. So understand who those types are. It's going to help you in the overall process. Building a data room is essential. It shouldn't be overly complicated. You want to have it before anyone asks for it. That would be a smart move. So just set a password protected folder, put your historical P&L, cash flow, balance sheet going back 3 years. If you have a projection going forward 2-3 years, that's very helpful. If you have patents, utility patents, intellectual property, contracts, shareholder agreements, operating agreements, just put everything inside of that folder. And this way you never have to deal with it and you know it's done. And then anytime there's some update, you just go in, you update the folder, and you can move forward. It's going to be very helpful to expedite the overall process. So exit readiness is a weapon, and you want to use it to win even if you never sell. So this goes back to building a business for a strong exit just ends up making a better business. It's kind of this methodology of starting at the end where you say, what's the end goal? And you just work your way backwards. It's all right here for you. It's all available. It's all possible. Yes, you can sell your business. Yes, you can grow your business. Yes, you can increase the value of your business. And yes, you can get a final payday. But if you don't know how far that is from where you're at right now, you're going to live in this fog. And this whole objective, as I mentioned at the top, is clarity. And then we get aligned, and then we go execute. So your next step. Now, you don't need another plan, but you do need a proven blueprint. And we want you to stop guessing and start growing with precision. So let's get the fog to blow away. Let's get you focused and be very precise about what we have to accomplish. And we've helped founders add millions to their exit in months, not years. Again, the auction process is very helpful in that, but it's not the only way. Exit preparation is an expense. I mentioned this earlier. It is the highest ROI move you can make. Again, just adding a 1x boost in your multiple could be millions. So why not go through the process? Why not be exit ready? Why not get prepared? The most people only realize the cost of inaction after it's too late. So you want to finish on your terms. You want to be very proactive about every step, very intentional about what you need to accomplish from this day forward. Now, you didn't build this business to die working in it. I hope that's not you. I hope you can exchange all the years of hard work, your legacy that you've built, and trade that in for a massive paycheck so you can ride off into the sunset. The exit you want is only available if you prepare for it. Remember, a great exit funds your next chapter. So don't sabotage it. And we don't know what your next chapter is. Maybe you want to start another business. Maybe you want to invest in other businesses. Maybe you want to hand this off to your kids and sail off into the sunset. Whatever you want to do, your exit will fund that next chapter. So make sure that it's methodical, well thought out. You're working with a strong team, and you're getting the highest price tag you possibly can get for the final exit. So you either build to sell or build to suffer, and you get to choose. So choose wisely. If you're building something that requires you, it's draining all your time, it's creating burnout, it's making you unhealthy mentally, physically, it's losing revenue year over year, you're just suffering through it. But you can turn the tides. You can turn this into a profitable machine. You just have to make a few tweaks, and you can definitely create something that buyers are going to be jumping towards and wanting and bidding and trying to outbid for. So time's running out, because it always is. You want to get exit ready now or pay the price later. You're going to pay a price one way or the other. Knowing you need to exit isn't enough. Being ready is. Being ready is, it's everything. If there's one thing that you take from this entire presentation, is exit readiness is non-negotiable. It will make you stronger. It will make you better, and it will help ease your anxiety, give you more clarity, give you more focus on what you're building, and ultimately be this high ROI activity that you invested time, effort, and energy into, because it's going to pay out maybe 100x. So most founders wait too long to prepare and leave millions on the table. We see it time and time again, where a high value business, someone had to just get pushed out because of one of the 5 Ds or some other factor, and they're taking a massive discount for what the business could have gotten if they were just more prepared and more proactive in the process. So you don't get a second chance to make a first impression with buyers. This is why you want to be prepared. If you get a great buyer that comes in, they say, hey, have you ever considered exiting? We want to have the conversations, but you need to spend 6 to 9 months to go get prepared. You might lose potentially a great buyer and a great opportunity. So that's why we created the Exit Ready Sprint. We put together a 3-hour sprint. In just one morning, you'll uncover the 5 most common deal killers, how to fix them, a snapshot of where your business is vulnerable so we can bolster it in those areas, and a focused 90-day plan, a short-term plan to increase your company's appeal, performance, and options, exit options. And you could do this over a cup of coffee. So we have information for you. I would love to see you there. This is, in theory, it's a strategic workshop for leaders ready to get serious. So if you're a leader, you want to get serious, you know you're going to exit in the next 1 to 5 years, this is the sprint for you. So there's information down below. I hope to see you there. I really appreciate you going through the 4 stages of exit readiness for us. And as a parting thought, I just want to say this. We've ushered business owners just like you through the entire process, from being unprepared to fully prepared to selling their business. It is possible for you. It's the highest ROI activity you can do. It is non-negotiable. You must go through an exit planning process. You must be prepared for the final time so you can get the biggest paycheck. You want to make your last paycheck out of this business the biggest one yet. So being unprepared, unacceptable. Being prepared puts you in the control seat, gives you alignment, gives you clarity, helps you sleep at night, gives you peace, and it ultimately protects your legacy. So I hope to see you. Click the link below, and we'll see you on the sprint. Thanks again for joining, and God bless.